family. CTR Media Network. Yeah. Best in the biz. Yeah. Join the team. CTR is who we are, the media network, that's the best by far. Whether you listen at your home, at your job, in your car, come get the information that's needed above par. Never lasting, motivational podcasting, giving you the answers to the questions that you're asking. Serious talks and topics, how to come up and profit, how to better yourself, your health is here, we got it. Reaching 350 million, they tuning in. We in 50 different countries, we all can. And like-minded, find your purpose and your assignment. Come get your fix, your feel, your mental alignment. Get active and speak to the masses. Build your influence all levels and all classes. Now you know you can monetize and grow. CTR Media Network. Start the show. CTR Media Network.
Welcome to CTR Media Network TV. Today we have a very special guest. He's an entrepreneur whose journey started at just 10 years old and whose impact on the podcasting world has been nothing short of transformational. He's the founder of Podmatch and the host of Podcasting Made Simple. He is also the 2023 Podcast Influencer of the Year and a true champion for independent creators. Please welcome to the show, without further ado, the one and the only Alex Sanfilippo. Welcome to the show.
Dr. Tina, thank you so much for having me here today. You're just a gift. I love the way that you learn. I love the way that you have fun in the process, and seriously, just an honor to be here with you today.
Oh my goodness. No, I feel it's flipped. I feel that way about you. So I'm just excited about everything that you're doing. And I'm a person like this. If I'm going to recommend someone, I have to be a product of the product myself. And I have been on your platform for about a month and a half, 2 months going on. And literally it has changed the way that I see and do podcasting. So, and I have been and seen so many platforms because I am a beta tester for just about everything that's dealing with podcasting. And by far, your platform is something that I can really see that is changing people's lives. So many people probably thinking, what is she talking about? Okay, I'm gonna put you in the conversation because just now I was just talking to Alex. But for all of you who are watching in, thank you for our CTR Nation, CTR riders that are currently watching right now. This is indeed the episode that you're gonna have to do on repeat over and over because he is the man that's going to help you revolutionize the way that you see podcasts and the way that you do podcasts. And so, Alex, let's jump right into it. You started your entrepreneurship journey at the age of 10. So that is a wealth of information, a wealth of knowledge, some do's and don'ts that you have learned along the way. So what made you transition into the world and become so passionate about the podcasting industry?
Yeah, Dr. Tina, again, thank you for the kind words. Seriously, means so much. Like you're making my day just being here. So thank you for that. When I think back to 10-year-old Alex who was selling used golf balls, like that was my introduction to entrepreneurship, and I found I really enjoyed it. And fast forward through all of it, like I did a lot of different things. I obviously didn't sell golf balls my whole life. I did that for about 2 years when I was a little kid and I was cute and could get away with it, right? And then eventually stepped into some more and some bigger jobs and stuff like that. But the common trend was always that I didn't mind reinventing myself. I didn't mind doing something different. And along the way, I found that there's quite a good story when you do that, right? Not that there's not a great story if you stay with the same company for 40 and 50 years. I actually think there's a lot to be said for people that do that. And I really, really respect that a lot. Just it might be less interesting for somebody on the outside, right? If you're going to talk specifically about work. But for me, I kind of realized like, hey, there's a bit of a journey here that people are like, wait, golf balls? And then you did real estate and you did aerospace and now you're doing podcasts. Like, what? How does all that work, right? And so I just kind of found the medium of podcasting was a beautiful way to be able to articulate that and share it. So I jumped into podcasting shortly after hearing it for the very first time. I was like, I love this. I want to get into it. And so that kind of got me in as just a hobbyist. It was like a side hustle type of thing, and ultimately led me to become a full-time podcaster, both as a guest and a host, just because I really love sharing stories, not just so I can talk about myself, but so I can share things that can hopefully help somebody else avoid some of the mistakes, but also fast track their way to the success that they're actually looking for.
That is the main reason why after I found my way, I should say, in podcasting, I realized early on that it was a way to connect with people in a different type of way. And I thrive on making an impact and making really authentic connections. So that's what I personally found podcasting to be. And you can learn a lot. You can laugh. You can cry. You can do all kinds of things with podcasting. It's the new form of entertainment. And so when I think about everything that you have built, you have mentioned that you started at 10, golf balls, all right, selling golf balls, arrow science, and then you went on into podcasting, saw how you can use it, and then you gradually just grew such an amazing brand dealing with podcasting. And so I think it's really, really remarkable how you took what you learned and you scaled it to this level. So when you think about how you started a blog, and it's a very powerful blog, I might add. And then you decided to launch Podmatch, because I know everybody's trying to figure out, what is this Podmatch? You launched that. So how did you use what you did with your blog, with your podcast, and that actually help you build this successful business with Podmatch and making it easy for us podcasters?
Yeah, when I think about just the whole process I've been through, without doing this, and as you said, it's great for authentic connection. I think that's the most beautiful piece of podcasting. When you're together in a room like this is a meaningful experience. And Dr. Tina, I hope it's just the beginning of what we get to do together and how we get to serve others together, right? And I firmly believe that. In addition to that, there's a self-discovery that happens. Like when I was blogging at one point, before I even knew what podcasting was, and I moved to podcasting, I didn't see the connection until somebody helped me make that when I was on a podcast. So like, oh man, like you had a very smooth transition because they kind of go together. I'm like, oh wait, they do. I didn't notice that, right? And so for me, I was just writing about what I believed would help people that time in my life. So like before I even did podcasting, I was talking about my faith, and I happened to be a believer in Jesus. And I was like really diving deep in that because there's a lot of people that were just in my life at that point. I don't know why, but I was surrounded by people that were struggling. And I was just coming out of that season of like not having a good time in life. And so I really grabbed onto that, and I was hoping it was helping people. And I believe it really was. But that kind of led me to get into podcasting. People were asking me for more, like, hey, what else are you learning? And like you said, Dr. Tina, like it's a great place to share transparently. One of the first places I ever cried publicly was on somebody else's podcast. And like, I didn't expect it to happen, but it just kind of did. And so like, there was this natural progression of blogging to help people, to podcasting to help people, to podcasting to help people that want to be podcasters, either as a host or as a guest. And that's kind of been the natural progression of it, which again, if I go back even just a few years, I wouldn't have been able to articulate that or tell you that that's what I was doing. But now I look back, and that's kind of the idea. And if it's helpful, I don't know if you wanted to share this, but should I share what Podmatch is for anybody who's like wondering, just like a brief overview, or is that not, we're not ready to do that yet? Okay, just making sure. I'll make sure no one's like, because I'm sure someone's like, what is this? So at its core, Podmatch is a service that connects podcast guests and podcast hosts for interviews to have the actual conversation. So I guess the simplest way to say is it works kind of like a dating app works. Granted, I've been married too long to use a dating app, but it works kind of like the way they do when they match people for dates. But instead of matching people for dates, it matches them for podcast interviews. And you can message on the platform. It handles a lot of the administrative work and stuff like that, which to me was really important because, again, when I was getting into podcasting, that was a really big friction point for me. And I really validated that as I was speaking at different podcasting conferences. As I got into this, I found that other people were saying the same thing. Like, hey, there's some serious friction involved when it comes to getting the guests and the hosts together, finding the right people, but not even that. Just the whole process is so many back and forth emails and things. And so we just wanted to simplify that whole thing. And that's where Podmatch became a thing, was just like, hey, there needs to be some sort of solution to help podcasters that see the value of being behind the microphone together, but maybe not the value of sending 100 emails back and forth in between, right? Because that doesn't really serve listeners at the same level that this does. And so that was the whole idea. And that was kind of my transition from like blogger to podcaster to now software founder in the podcasting space.
And that, I love that you went back. And I also heard how when you was actually in the thick of it, doing it, you didn't realize the flow and the transformation that you was actually making. And right now you're in the place of transformational, because we can make a transformation for ourselves as an individual. But when you think about how can you change your transformation to become transformational in someone else's life? And so once you got to that point where you're like, oh, I transformed this blog, I transformed my podcast. Now I'm going to build out this software. Because you're right. One of the biggest struggles for most podcasters is not doing the podcast, in particular in the beginning, once you learn how to do it. It is finding and securing quality guests, not just any guests, but quality guests, right? And so what I find is with Podmatch is that it breaks down the it makes something that used to be so monumental, such a stressor, to the point that you're like, I'm not gonna do interviews no more. You know, it can get that stressful to the point that now it's like easy going Sunday morning. You're like, oh, I just got a new notification. I have another guest possibility. Do I want to match it or do I want to pass it? I mean, it's just like, okay. And so for all of you podcasters who are out there struggling, because I hear it all the time as a podcast coach, as a podcast network owner, struggling to find those guests, listen, Podmatch is the place, and he has the uniqueness of making it cost effective for you as a guest and cost effective for you if you're only looking to find high quality guests. And let's talk about the problem of monetization, because you're able to not only help us to be able to find those high quality guests, but another problem with people being able to monetize, even if they don't have an extremely large audience base. So what made that so important to you to add that layer? Because what you're doing, it was already great, but then when you add that, I was like, uh-oh, this is it. Okay, this is it right here.
Yeah, so Dr. Tino, what you're describing here is we started what we call our Pod Value Initiative, which is we pay podcast hosts to use the platform. And now if someone who's hearing this is like, well, hold on, I'm a guest about me. Listen, going on a podcast where the host is making a little bit of money is a better podcast to go on. Like, they're probably going to stick with it longer. They're going to put some of the money back into production. So it's kind of a win-win is what I always like to tell people. And really getting to be on a podcast in today's world, it's getting tougher to be picked as a guest, because especially like CTR Media Network, like, you have options, Dr. Tina, like, you have a lot of options. And that's one of the reasons I'm so honored to be here today, is because I wasn't the only choice. And I'm very grateful to be here. So as a guest, getting on shows is just becoming important, and getting on shows that are going to stick with it is even more important, I think, because that's like the legacy building, the long tail of it. But when I look, to answer your question, when I looked at the industry a few years ago, I realized there were so many different podcasting companies that quote unquote support podcasters. And I was just like, but all of us want their money. Like, how much do we expect them to have? And we tell them they need all 30 things to podcast. I'm like, and by the way, if there's no podcasters, is there a podcast industry, right? Like, hold on, don't we need these individuals? Shouldn't we be supporting them more? And when we decided to launch our Pod Value Initiative, especially when we started, it wasn't much, and it continues to grow. Every quarter, we don't necessarily announce it, but every quarter we start paying podcasters a little bit more. And we just kind of like put it in there. We do and I don't usually share this, but we do like a 50-50 split between what we make and what podcasters. We got to keep the lights on. The rest of it, we're like, hey, we're going to get our paychecks. We're going to keep the lights on, and we're going to give the rest to podcasters. That was our commitment early on, just because I was like, man, I believe in the creator economy. I believe in independent voices. I believe in what we do to make the world a better place. So I want my money to be where my mouth is. When we started this, I was shocked at how many, I try to say this really nice, but other companies in podcasting were telling us how morally wrong it was to give podcasters money. And they're setting a bad precedent. They're like, you can't do that. It makes the rest of us look bad. I'm like, well, maybe you should change something if you feel like I'm making you look bad. And it wasn't out of a spite thing to hurt other people. It literally was just at my core. I felt like we were supposed to do this. And we thankfully we didn't let anything stop us, including other people reaching out, being like, hey, you are making a big mistake. Don't give people money. Right. Like, but listen, I just believe in the power of it. And it's not the only monetization option that I think podcasters should take. But if you are giving an interview-based show, why not? At the very least, our goal is to help you offset your production costs. So you can just say, hey, everything that I'm doing in podcasting, all my tool set, I'm at even right now. And then anything else you make is icing on the cake, where you can start bringing in a little bit of income, and even hopefully, if it's someone's dream, become a full-time podcaster at some point. This is kind of that foundational level. But again, for me, I can't describe it other than the fact that I felt at my core we were supposed to do this. It was more of a calling thing than maybe a sound business decision, as some would say, but we figured out how to make it work and scale, that we weren't gonna have to shut down the doors because we were giving everything away, right? Like, that was very important. Make sure we draw a line saying this is what we can do, and let's always make sure we do as much as we can without jeopardizing the entire company, of course. But to me, that's still my favorite thing to do. And my goal this year in 2025 is to end up by the end of the year to have $1 million back in the hands of podcasters before the end of the year. And it's an ambitious goal. I'm always a little bit ambitious, but that's what I'm most excited about. And it's my main focus right now is to help make that happen.
You will, because you lead in with your heart and not with, I always tell people you have to put people first. If you put people first and profit last, God has a way of making sure everything works, make sure everything works. And so everything that I do is people led. It's people led. Even if I don't get paid for it, I know it's going to come back. I call it the boomerang effect. You throw a boomerang out, it's going to come back. Now, when it come back, now that's time will tell. But eventually it's going to meet its way back to you. And so for me, we're similar in our mind perspective of how we feel content creators should be treated. Because coming from the industry of media, working as executive producer on all these shows behind the scenes, you didn't see me, but I'm the one that's making all this different stuff going on all these different networks. And I saw the breakdown between the networks and the actually content creators. And they may be paying in to be a part of a platform, but they're not really reaping as much benefit as they should, right? And so, and everything is about numbers, right? So you can have a great show, but people just don't see you. Maybe your marketing is not where it needs to be. Maybe this or that, right? So one thing that I prayed for, because that's the main reason why at CTR Media Network, we do not charge the public to watch our creators' content. And we went against the grain with that. And most people are like, that's messing up the model for independent network owners. You're not supposed to do that. And so I'm hearing the same trend with what you said with yours, because it's so different and you're giving everyday people doing extraordinary things the opportunity to be able to monetize their impact and not be so caught up with they have to have 1 million subscribers first before they can do it, right? You do the job, you do a quality job, you get paid, and you get to meet some fantastic people. So I appreciate that. So for those of you who are out there right now that you've been hoping, wishing, and praying for a platform that will celebrate you, that CTR Media Network use themselves. Okay, I use it. This is the platform. This is the platform. It's very simple. You don't have to be tech savvy. For all my baby boomers out there that love to come to me for training, you don't have to be tech savvy. You just answer the questions. You go in and you do the thing, right? And of course, if you need some help, reach out to CTR Media Network, because I'm on the platform. Some of my podcasters are on. We transition them over too. So go on over. It's nothing. I remember the first time I monetized my show, because my show was being monetized. But I remember years ago that, oh, you're going to make me cry. That gratification, that appreciation, it made all the sleepless nights, the struggle worth it. That I felt like I was finally being seen and I had something to show for it. Oh, Lord. So I see and hear that all the time with podcasters. So thank you for building a platform that was just not about, you got to have 1 million followers before you can be able to qualify. Your platform actually give everyday people the opportunity to monetize what they do safely, responsibly, and organized. And it's a platform designed to win. So with that, Alex, I had to say that for some reason, but you emphasize this particular thing a lot. You said things that don't scale, you encourage us to do that. So why do you say it's a good idea for us to do things that don't scale initially?
Yeah, Dr. Tina, thanks for giving me the opportunity to talk about this. Very few people ever ask about this, and I think that maybe people misunderstand a little bit, but basically I'm talking about things that don't scale are things like having a conversation with somebody. Like you can't really scale that. Now you could sub it out to AI or hire an assistant, I suppose, right? But like, I think it's important for founders, for podcasters, for anyone running any sort of content company, even a media network. It's just so important for us to be at that front line in some way so we don't lose touch with who we're serving. and how we're serving them. Because I think that so many people, we can see large unicorn companies, $1 billion+ companies that start off doing really well, they climb to the top, and then they just crash and burn. And people are always like, why? How'd that happen? And I'm not saying it's necessarily always a bad thing. I guess it's not great that they crash and burn, right? But like, it's because the founder typically is now running a big company. He's talking to shareholders. He's reviewing different product ideas, all this. He's not doing what he did from day one, which was talk to people that were going to use it. And the more disconnected any of us get from that person we serve, the further away we get, the harder it is to know what they actually want. Could you imagine, like, just imagine you have like a sibling that you haven't talked to in 10 years and you decide you want to give them a birthday gift. Do you know what to get them? Probably not. If you haven't had any communication in 10 years, probably not. But if you're hanging out with that person on a regular basis, you can see the gaps in what they might want for their birthday, right? You might be like, ooh, they would really love this because I know this person. The problem that so many of us face in today's world is the temptation to automate everything to the point where we're not really even involved anymore. We might be building an empire, moving it forward, right? And to some extent that's good. We've got to leave room to do things that don't scale, which again, it's that one-on-one conversation. It's that authentic connection with another human being, because that reminds you who you're serving, why you're doing it. It repoints you north, right? If it's your compass, it's taking you north again and helping you make sure that you're there. Because I have found myself to, just full transparency, at one time, I needed to course correct and I didn't. I started pulling myself away from the conversation with people because it's what you do when you're a software founder, like air quotes there, right? It's what you're supposed to do. But I decided, you know what? I don't like this. It feels inauthentic. I don't know who I'm serving anymore. And I actually, I had an assistant and we let her go, and she was left on good terms. It was fine. I was just like, I need to do this communication. I'll figure out how to automate all the big picture stuff because I want to be around the people, because that's the only way I can know what we really need to do to serve them. I need to be involved. And so that's what I mean by doing things that don't scale. And you can't do it with everything, right? As a matter of fact, like I use calendar apps to schedule stuff. I use all different kinds of tools to support that. What I'm not going to automate is my direct communication with another human being, because that's where I learn and grow the most personally and figure out how to serve better.
Now that was powerful, coming from a CEO. Seeing how you lacked in something, correct it, and then actually saying, wait a minute, I lost connection with my why. Basically, that's what you said. You lost connection with your why. And as we scale, as we grow, one of the first things we want to do, because I'm guilty of it too, because I'm not going to act like I'm all over this, like, oh, I don't do that. I never did. No. Because one of the first thing we want to do once we start scaling up our business is saying, I want to move myself out of the equation, put somebody else, have an acting CEO on my behalf. I'll become just a president, but you're right. We do not need to lose the connection with the heartbeat of the company. And the heartbeat is the customers, it's the clients, it's the people who see your vision, thought enough to pay into the vision. And we cannot lose that connection, because when you lose it, you lose basically the foundation and the core of why you did what you did in the beginning. So kudos to you for seeing that, going back, because it's not easy when you grow in such a monstrous, like huge platform to say, oh yeah, I'm going to be in the forefront of them. That's not easy. So the question is, Alex, when should we expand? Is there a way that we should expand if you're a podcaster? Being that you say don't scale on certain things, is it ever a right time to do it?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, absolutely. I'm glad you brought this up, because I'm not saying just stay in that space forever, because you will burn yourself out. As a matter of fact, I love it when CEOs are completely disconnected from everything. But what the smart ones do is they build in time to do things that don't scale. They say, hey, Thursdays and Fridays, there's a 1 hour block, fill my schedule with people that are just using our software or listening to my podcast. I just want to talk to them and hear them. That to me counts as doing things that don't scale, because you'll never talk to more than 5 people during that time, or 10. I don't know what the number is, but the point is you can never make that turn into more, but it keeps you on the pulse. And I think a smart CEO, a smart founder is one who says, I'm going to do this. Now, I took it very extreme, I'll admit, being all my own frontline communication, but it's the part of podcasting that I love. So yes, by all means, think about how you are going to scale. Think about how you can do things that don't scale in a structured way to make sure that you don't just let your time be running all over the place, right? And just listening to random people. Not that that's a problem, but like if you are going to go somewhere, you also have to be very careful with your time and who gets it, right? Like you can't just give it to everybody. And so I think if you're a podcaster, you're like, okay, I know that I've got a good show. I know this thing can scale. Make sure your systems are in place. Make sure you don't lose touch with the pulse, your why, right? Remember to connect with those people, as Dr. Tina said. And then from there, the next phase, if you're like, hey, I'm ready to scale this thing, it's to start delivering on a greater level what you feel your listeners want. And again, you're in touch with that pulse, right? You're talking to them. When you hear them saying, hey, I'm looking for this, do your best to deliver on it. Don't say, well, we've kind of already got this thing built out. We've already got a direction. You might have to course correct a lot. Earlier about how I came from the aerospace industry. This blows people's mind usually, but 99% of the time, the airplane is not going the right direction. It's just 1 or 2 degrees off. And that's what the autopilot's for. It's always correcting. If you're in an airplane, you kind of feel like pull a little bit. It's because it's saying, okay, we're off course again. And for many of us as companies, we need to do that more. We need to be willing to course correct instead of saying, I've already said it. This is what we're doing for the next 10 years. It's going to be great. Everyone's going to love it. Maybe they won't. People evolve. People change. The people you serve might even be growing and saying, hey, can you do this for me now? Because you've taught me so much. Maybe it's time to do that. So for me, when it comes to scaling, it's making sure you have your systems and processes in place, that you're staying in touch with the people that you're serving, and then finding a way to deliver on a greater level the impact, the transformation that they're ultimately looking for. And that looks different for each of us. Maybe it's more episodes, maybe it's shorter episodes, maybe it's longer episodes, right? It's a matter of really hearing that and figuring it out. And what I've found, the better our content gets as podcasters, as bloggers, as authors, whatever it might be, the better our content gets, the more eyes end up seeing it, because people love to share good content. So just make it better and better and better. And I think that's a really good way to grow organically.
That is, listen to what they're saying. And I would say this, one thing I had to learn was not being, like you said, not being so attached to what you think they want, but actually listen to what they say and give them what they want. And one of the problems that I had was helping people to monetize in the early stages more quicker. Okay, because I perfectly well know how to do it from building for a period of time, but it was that little small piece and you helped solve that problem. So what I said, okay, I prayed about it. I said, listen, I don't want to build another software, don't want to do another nothing, Lord. I don't want to do it, Lord. Like, can you, I know it's a lot of chaos in the world, but can you like point me in the right direction? Wait, I know somebody had this idea. And then all of a sudden I saw you and I was like, yes, push them on over. Push them on over there.
Using your affiliate link though, right? I hope you're using your affiliate link.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
good. All right, just making sure.
Yes, but sometimes I do talk about it. I'm so excited I didn't have it, but I'm doing better. I'm doing better. But yes, so if you're not directly doing something right now, look for people who are already doing it and collab with them, especially if you guys on the same accord and is solving the problem for your people by staying connected to the heartbeat. They're going to let you know exactly what they want, what they need. And if someone else can provide it that has a stellar reputation with a solid platform, then why not put them there, right? They're going to be taken care of. So I don't have to worry about my people over there on Podmatch. So when I'm thinking about us growing, some of the questions that people ask 24/7 when they decide to start a podcast is, what equipment should I use? And I know this is like a generalized thing, but I'm just going to say what Alex recommend to use in regards to content. Equipment that they can use.
Yeah, the equipment thing. Do you remember Clubhouse, Dr. Tina? Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So a lot of people maybe have forgotten or don't know what it was, but 2020 was audio back and forth conversation. And the only rooms I'd instantly leave are the ones where they're talking about gear, because everyone has their own opinion on it. So I'm going to keep it really brief here. Let's just imagine you want to do a video type podcast, or you want to be a guest on podcasts. I still think you should have the video element at this point, because most people want the video as well, which I totally understand. I am not a very techie person. And a lot of people think like, wait, you're a software guy? I'm like, yes, I'm a software guy, but more on the founder side, from sales, marketing, like relationship, not the techie side. And so when I was getting my ideal podcasting gear, like the stuff that I consider my forever gear, I was like, I wanted to plug straight in my laptop and I never want to worry about it. So here's what I use. I use a dynamic USB microphone. The brand doesn't even matter because they're all getting so good. I can't even think of the name of the brand I'm thinking right now, but it's all over the place now. But if you type in USB dynamic microphone, and dynamic just makes it so you have to be right in front of it to hear it. Like if I step 5 feet away, you can't hear me. Unless you have a proper podcast studio, this is what you want. You'll thank yourself later because you don't need all the soundproofing and stuff. It makes it really simple. So dynamic USB microphones that plugs right into your computer or laptop. And then I use a USB 4K webcam. So it's a Logitech 4K Brio is what I think it's called. Same thing, USB plugs right into my laptop. And those are my 2 pieces of gear. And then I have some lighting that kind of is in my room to make it so there's not shadows everywhere. And I'm not a great lighting guy, but there are so many videos on YouTube specifically about how to have good lighting in a room that you're going to record. And I wouldn't even look up podcasting. I look up like how to have a YouTube channel with good lighting, or I watch like 5 videos and like they're all saying the same thing. And it's really easy. So it cost me like $20 to have good lighting in the office, right? So anyway, so USB is the way to go for me. And so I use the dynamic microphone and a 4K webcam that's made by Logitech. And then I have some good lighting in the room, and I make sure it's a good quiet space, and that's it. I don't think you need a whole lot. Dr. Tina, did I forget anything? You recommend this stuff a lot more than I do. Did I miss something there?
This is like a question that I'll be like, when I get it, and I get it 24/7, 7 days a week. And I'm like, listen, people, it's pretty much boils down to what you prefer and what is your comfortability, how comfortable you are with technology versus not having technology. I, like you, people think that I just love tech, right? I am a person that is for simplicity in technology. So I am the USB girl. I like to plug it in on the go. I like practicality. I can drop it in my bag. I don't have to, it's easy to travel just to go, right? And when you plug it in, your computer already recognizes it. You don't have to go through all this extensive setup and download and all this stuff. I like it to be simple. So I do have a list of things that I personally use that I recommend. However, you do not, I want people to understand that this is just Alex's opinion and Dr. Tina's opinion. You have to do what's comfortable for you. And I might say Logitech, but you might like a Rodecaster Pro. I have all of that, but guess what? Spent thousands of dollars on the Rodecaster Pro. And I use my $50 mic more than I use the ones that cost a couple thousand. So I mean, it's pretty much up to you on what you would like to do based upon your budget and the type of quality you want to present. You always want to have a good mic for good pickup. It can be $50. It can be $300. It's your preference. You always want to be clear where people can see you. At least you don't ever want to go below 720. You want to be 1080p or higher. 4K because you're competing with other things, because regular TV is just so crystal clear now that if you come anywhere below that, they're like, "Ooh, what's wrong with they look?" So you just want to make sure that you're in a modern way of how things look. But for the most part, you're gonna just have to get your feet wet, do it for yourself. You're gonna mess up. Let me just tell you this: you're gonna mess up. You're gonna do some episode that you don't like. You're gonna do something where the sound don't sound right. But that's just part of the learning process. Now, we're going to get onto this topic, which is another question people ask, but I feel like we can have a better conversation about this. So many people, they want to go on podcasts, but the question is, should they start a podcast? Do you feel that people should start a podcast? And reasons why or why not?
Yes and no. I'll say no to start. If you're like, oh, I think I want to be a guest, but I think I might also want to start a show, be a guest on one first. And the reason I say that is because it's much less effort to be a guest on one instead of starting one. Now, I think there's a lot of power in that. I'll share that in a minute. But being a guest on a podcast will tell you 2 things. Do you like it or do you not like it, right? So like it's going to one way or the other. And I had somebody where they're like, I really want to start a podcast. I was like, oh, we'll be a guest first. I did it. Like, I absolutely hated it. So how do I start my podcast? I'm like, I don't think you should. They're like, oh, good, because I do not want to do it. I'm like, oh, well, then good. Then don't do it, because you have to really want to. Now, I also just recently had a friend, and I was like, hey, man, don't start a podcast. Go on one as a guest first. He did it. He went on a podcast, and he immediately called me. He's like, I loved it. How do I start mine? And I was like, good. We know that he really enjoyed sharing his story. And so I always tell people, start to make sure that you you enjoy it, right? It seems like something that can be good for you. And I'm not saying your first podcast guesting like opportunity is going to be the most amazing thing. You're going to learn to speak more clearly and grow, but just make sure you didn't like hate the whole experience of it, because being a host is a lot more work than being a guest. And I do think that more people should start podcasts, but I think more important than starting a podcast is sticking with a podcast. And listen, like CTR Nation, this is why you hang out with Dr. Tina. This is why you become part of the media network here, because people that are in community together, that are doing things together, seem to last a lot longer. If we go back to, I don't know when your listeners were around or anything like that, but I grew up in the 90s and all we watched was, I don't know if it was Animal Planet or what it was called, but I was always watching, like the jaguar, the lion, the tiger eating the animal that was always by itself, right? Every time. And if there's one thing I learned, I'm like, maybe just don't do this thing alone. You know, it seems like you're pretty safe if you don't wander off on your own. And so I tell people, like, if you're going to start a podcast, more important than starting it is sticking with it. And I found one of the key contributing factors to that is having people in your corner that you can ask questions to, that you can say, not a single listener has reached out to me. Like, I am feeling down. Can somebody please help me? We help each other during those times, during those dry spells. And the reality is, without that, I don't know anyone who really is like, I did this thing completely alone. There's never been anyone in my corner. And I've made it. Everyone has a room full of people that are like saying, all these people are what got me to where I am today. And so again, I think if you want to start a podcast, do it, but commit to sticking to it. And if you want to be a guest on a podcast, make the same commitment. Yes, try one. If you like it and you say, I want to do this guesting thing more, then say, I want to do 50 in the next 2 years. I'm going to do 20 this next year. And on the host side, same thing. Come up with a number. And listen, the number is just a number. What's more important than the number is the life that you're impacting. That's the listener on the other end. But we need to have something for ourselves, and we need to keep on going so we don't just give up too soon. But in my mind, be a guest, but also consider being a host, because there's a shortage of podcasts that stick with it right now. And there is a lot of space in here because the listenership of podcasts in general is climbing at such a rapid rate, but we're not seeing the growth on the actual active host side of things at all.
That's so true, because I feel that we're in the podcast industry, we are experiencing substantial growth, more so than ever, because of all the different ones that are trending now. And Alex, I listen and I am a subscriber to your show, your YouTube channel, everything that you do. I listen because it's training for me, right? I never have the idea that I already know too much. I'm like, nope, I need to know more. Okay, so the thing is, everybody can't be an Alex. Everybody can't be a Dr. Tina, but you can be you. Stop trying to be other people. You can admire them. You can be inspired by them. But I feel most people now in this fame era, they get so caught up in what they think people want them to be. And one thing that has helped me a lot is that I have always been myself. Country twanging, I'll mess up words, say words right, say words wrong. I mean, I'm going to be myself. I'm not listening. Now, you know, some of my words go around the corner, come back again. Now, that's my Southern twang. Now, stop it. Now, stop it. You know, you just have to be yourself. And that's how I grew the community. And then other people start coming. And so community is very important as well. So one thing that I do see too, and I'm thinking about, so how can an independent podcaster with no team keep up with their episode production? Because what happened, they start off real fiery. They might be doing 3, 4, 5 episodes, and all of a sudden they might do one every other month, every other week. They have that burnout. So how can we conquer that?
Yeah, you're totally right. It's like the initial the adrenaline high, right? And it typically lasts about 8 episodes, by the way, like for ones that are like, so just so everyone knows, if you make it to 8 episodes, you've released more episodes than over 50% of podcasters ever do. So just 8 and more than 50%. And I'm not including people that only do 1, because there's a lot of people that just try 1 and they don't do it again. I don't really count that. It's like 2, if you make it to 2 and then to 8, there's 50% of people who are going to stop at that point. That's a substantial number. And the thing is, we're like, oh, this is so cool. I'm so excited. I'll stay up all night and edit. I'll do this forever. And then 8 weeks later, you're like, I am not staying up again. I'm exhausted. This episode wasn't even good, right? Like there's all these things that go into it. You have to build systems from day one. And when I look at all the podcasters I know that have stayed with it a long time, and we're talking 300 episodes plus, people that have been on it for forever at this point, it feels like, right? Everyone does something different, but the one thing they all have in common is they have systems. They have processes. They have a code for how they basically run their entire podcast. And so from day one, I'd encourage you, come up with what you're going to do, but just as important as what you're going to do is what you're not going to do. Dr. Tina, you said it really beautifully. You said that like Alex has already taken, Dr. Tina has already taken, along with everybody else, like be yourself. And the reality is that's the only person that's not taken is yourself. And I hear podcasts all the time be like, I want to be the next Joe Rogan. I'm like, well, Joe Rogan's taken, man. Like, you don't need to be Joe Rogan. Like, be you. And the problem with that is not just the fact that like we want to grow our fame and stuff like that, but it's that we look at what they do and say, okay, I want to be like them, so I need to do everything they're doing. No one that you're looking at that's doing super well today was doing that when they started. And like, listen, we're comparing our day one to other people's year 20. And that is not fair to us. And that's how you get yourself burnt out when you're like, well, I have to do all the social media stuff too. And I have to do all this. No, you build an empire out one little piece at a time, right? One little piece at a time. So I tell people like, hey, from day one, what is the absolute basic what you need to do? Get a microphone, get a camera, press record, release it once a week. Don't even post about it anywhere yet, right? Like just get comfortable saying, can I do this before I add more? And I don't believe you're wasting content because when I look at my podcast, people still go back and listen to episode 1 on a regular basis. Every day, there's people listening to episode 1. If they like it, wherever they jump in, they'll go back and find it. So don't feel like you're wasting content. You're getting in some reps and figuring out what you're able to do. But always do less than you think you should. Because when burnout starts to settle in, if you're doing less, it might allow you to make it. But start documenting from day one. Commit to the process of just saying, I'm going to keep this as simple as I possibly can. Still to this day, we still look at my podcast. I don't run it alone. I like to communicate with people, right? So where I've automated things is even my podcast. I think there's 5 people who work on it. But we still look at how we can simplify it every single quarter. Every 90 days, we sit and review, like, what's the most time-consuming part of this? Okay, why are we doing that part? Is it actually valuable? If no, we cut it out. If yes, how can we improve that? And we're doing that every 90 days to make sure that we don't get burnt out ourselves. And I think we're 300 some odd episodes in, but we're going to keep on going. We're not going to stop. I encourage everyone from day one, commit to what you're going to do and keep it as minimal as possible.
Yes, commit to what you said you're going to do. Okay. And understand that this is a journey. This is a journey. With any journey, you're going to run into pitfalls. Rocks going to be on the road. You're going to have to detour a little bit. You're going to have to dust yourself off. You do not have to be perfect. Okay. So many people are seeking perfection and we're not even perfect individuals. So how can you create perfection out of an imperfect mode? It's just not possible. And so at the end of the day, be you, and you are enough that your people will see you and you will grow organically. Your people will see you. You keep putting out content. And Alice is so right. I have people down to this day that reached out to me with an email about, thank you so much for the video, that training that you did. I'm like, I didn't do a training like this month. Like, what are you talking about? You know, in your podcast. That was like 7 years ago. I was like, oh, thank you very much. So once people start finding you and discovering you, they're going to start looking for any and everything that you have already put out. And I tell people every day, this is the era that you want to build your digital imprint. This is a different type of legacy. I'm building this not just for myself, but most importantly for my family and my children's children's children that I will never meet. They're going to know how grandma feels about certain things. Great grandma. Like, listen, I saw her in her 30s, her 20s, her 40s, her 50s, her 60s. I know, no, grandma didn't like that. How do you know? Oh, she got a video on it. She didn't like it. She didn't like it. So think about it as building your digital legacy where people can consistently come back and get inspired to take action and execute based upon the information that you're giving. And that is impact. That is impact, people. And so that is what Alice is doing. And that is what we are doing as well. And so people are like, well, I'm nervous. Well, do audio first. You can do video later, but do something. Do something. So Alice, it's so many people that would love to be a guest on your podcast show or a part of anything that you're doing when you have these amazing workshops and everything like that. So for individuals that we're gonna talk about two type of people. But we're gonna do one first. The first one is for a guest. With so many people reaching out to podcast shows nowadays to be a featured guest, how can a guest make themselves stand out above all the other people to get picked? What are some things that they need to do so that we will say, I want to pick that person to be on my show?
Yeah, I think this is like the pitch that is what, I don't know, is that what you all call it too? I feel like that word is kind of,
it is a pitch, but I like to just, I don't even like the word pitch because it sounds so salesy. It sounds so
your outreach. I don't know what we should call it.
We can say outreach. We can say, what is your outreach? You know, or you want to connect with someone.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with Ken here today. So Dr. Tina, I was thinking, I'm like, I know she's not gonna like the word pitch either. Everyone else loves it, but I was like, you're not gonna like it either.
I don't like it.
This is your outreach to a host. And I'll just share exactly how I do it if that's helpful. I can just kind of go through it. There's 6 things that I do. So I do 6 things every time I'm gonna reach out to a host. So when I make that initial contact, the first thing I do, this is more of the mindset, I keep it really short. I don't know other podcast hosts, but I don't necessarily love to read as much as I used to. I like to talk. It sounds like I'm into podcasting, right? And so I like it when it's short. And I feel that some of the pitches I get, and I'll call them pitches, it's like a sales brochure and it just goes on forever. I'm like, man, I don't want to read this for 20 minutes. Like, what is this? But I'll tell you what, when someone sends me something really short, I'll usually read it right there. I don't feel like I need to schedule it for later. I'm like, oh, I can tackle this right now. So my first piece of advice is to keep it short. Next thing is to lead with value. And what I mean by that is leading with value is identifying the host, their expertise, what they're doing, the impact they're having, versus saying, I created a course, I have a book, I want to be on your podcast, and I want to grow my business. Like, that tells a host, like, okay, you don't care about me or who's listening. You clearly care about you a lot. And so you want my platform, right? And so you want to lead with value, which is simply something like this. Hey, Dr. Tina, CTR Media Network is incredible. You've done a great job. You have a great legacy that you're building, and I see it. And I just want to acknowledge that. It's something along those lines. It tells Dr. Tina, okay, like this person actually might care, right? And the next thing you want to do is make a meaningful request. I can't tell you how many outreaches I've had from people where there's no actual ask in it, Dr. Tina. I'm sure you've seen this too. It's just this giant like word vomit of everything, and you're like, what do they want from me? You know, you like read it, you're like, do they want me to say congratulations? Like, you've seen that too, right? Or am I alone?
Yeah. No, all the time.
Okay.
They go right to the trash. I'm sorry.
Right?
I don't have time.
That's the point. A meaningful request means not just saying I'd like to be a guest on your podcast, but explaining why you'd want to. And again, keeping this all really short. So for me, it might be, hey, I noticed on CTR Media Network that you've not talked about podcasting gear, or at least in a while. I'd love to be a guest to talk about that because I know about that topic. And that's not really what I do, but just like a random idea there. You want to make it meaningful and say, this is what I want to talk about. Because most hosts are going to say, oh, wait, have we not talked about that? That is really good. Why haven't we talked about this, right? And it gets them thinking. The next thing you want to do is offer credibility. And I think this is where many of us want to put in our resume and stuff like that. But to me, credibility at the highest form is, who do I know that they also know? So an example, if I go back to Dr. Tina's backlog and I see some of my friends have been on the podcast, I'm going to be like, hey, you had 3 of my friends on your show. This person, this person, this person. Feel free to reach out to them as a reference if you want to check a little bit more about me. That goes a really long way. And listen, you can totally link out to your website where they can learn more about you. But to me, if we've shared a stage, if our favorite book is the same thing, if we love the same people, that is a connection right there. That's real credibility in my mind, because now I have this sense of trust with you. So it's offer credibility. Next is to mention sharing the episode. And don't lie, have integrity. If you're not planning on sharing it, don't say this. But for me personally, if I'm a guest on a podcast, I'm going to share anything that gets posted about it anywhere online. And also my team and I, we create a blog post and we link to the host website so they can get some SEO backlink juice, right? Because we basically want to say, hey, Alex was on this podcast and it's a great show. Here's a little more about it. Go to their website and check it out. And so I mentioned that when I'm reaching out to hosts. Hey, I'd love to make a blog post about it. I'd love to share anything that we do about it. And the last thing is just make it easy to say no. And this one's a little bit like, some people don't like this one, but I do. At the end of the day, I'm just looking to open conversation, because I found that no typically doesn't mean no. It means not right now. And so for me, I just say, hey, listen, if I'm not the right fit, no worries either way. I just love to connect with you, even if it's just here via email. And typically I get a response. And sometimes it's, hey, you're not really a right fit, but thank you so much. I'd love to stay in contact with you. And without fail, 6 months go by, 8 months go by, and they're like, hey, would you still want to talk about this on my podcast? just from opening that dialogue with people. So those are kind of my points for how I reach out to be a guest on other people's podcasts. And it's worked really well for me. I'd say about 70% of the time, it seems to be a working pitch and framework. So it's keep it short, lead with value, make a meaningful request, offer credibility, mention sharing the episode, and make it easy to say no.
Well, listen, you guys, I hope you heard that. That's the secret sauce right there. Like, very simple. All right, I told you this was going to be one of those episodes you need to go back. This time you need to go back with a pen and paper. But yes, that is, I agree with you. I never thought about it in that particular order until you just said it. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that is good. Like, and simple. I love simplicity. So that is very good for the guest to do. Now we're going to talk about, lastly, what can a podcast host, when we're reaching out for ones to be on our show?
It's so much different in today's world because of how out of balance it is. Like right now, there's a 41-to-1 ratio between guests and hosts. So to every one podcast host, there's 41 people wanting to be guests. And so because of it being so out of balance, it's much less work for a podcast host. But I do think there needs to be some respect there. And because I find a lot of hosts, they know this now. And they know that like, hey, anyone will be on my show because I have a show. And again, that speaks to the authority of having an active podcast that you keep on going with. But I don't think you need to be a jerk about it. And I've had more people reach out to me lately that are like the message will literally say, yo, I want you on my podcast. And that's it. And I'm like, I get it. And like, so I always respond. I'm like, hey, thanks so much. Like any details about anything like that? Yeah, just come on, we'll figure it out. I'm like, man, thank you, but no thank you is what I usually end up saying. Like, I still want there to be some respect. So if you're going to reach out to a guest, don't forget your relationship starts with them with the initial contact, right? Like it's not when you're recording together. It's not your time to be nice. Your time to be nice is the first form of communication you have. So reach out really respectfully. Do your due diligence. Here's an example. Today I reached out to somebody that I've known for a long time, but just like as an acquaintance in the podcasting space. I saw he released a book and I saw it's on a topic that I'm actually really interested in personally, but also I see that it relates well to my podcast audience. So I reached out saying, hey, I saw that you wrote this book. I don't know if you're going to be on any podcast, but I want you to know I bought the book today. I'm going to read it. And when I'm finished, I'd love to have you on. Let me know if that would interest you. And here's what I think would benefit my audience if you'd be interested in that. I can send you a scheduling link. I can talk to people on your team, all that. And so I just framed it really simple, knowing he's a busy guy. So I reference his team. I can help them schedule it. You don't need to do all that. But I made it very inviting. So when he sees that, it's not going to be like if it's a no, it's not like a please leave me alone. It's gonna be like, wow, this is really kind. Like he bought the book. Thank you for doing that. But I fully expect it to be a yes, because I'm going to read the book before I even interview him. I think that that's like gold for a podcast guest to know that like, okay, this is going to be a good interview because this guy is actually really, really prepared. And that's kind of my take on it. So I just think that you want to reach out really respectfully and you want to frame why you want someone on. And like that's what I do with his book. If it's not an author, that's fine, but give them a reason. Even if your podcast is very general, that's fine. But like tell someone like what makes you you. When you can point that out and they can see that you know it, that makes us feel really good, right? Like, Alex, you really know about podcasting. I'd love for you to come on and talk about that. It's like, okay, thank you for noticing that, right? Not just let's shoot the breeze, bro. Come on the show. I'm like, I don't know if I want to do that, like, so I just think at the end of the day here, I know I'm repeating myself a little bit, but just be really respectful, do your due diligence and start being really nice from the first moment you interact with even a guest.
I agree with you. Your first initial contact is the first impression. And many people wait. They're thinking I don't know what they're thinking, to be honest with you, because for whatever you first say, write, text, send is that first initial thought about you. And normally, however they feel about you is not going to change after that first initial contact. No matter if you try to fix it, clean it up, they still remember that person came to me like, no, I don't like that energy. So you're right. You have to be respectful. And I would say be simple. You don't have to give your whole itinerary. You don't have to tell them you've been doing all this and that and this and that and this and that. It should be if I reach out, because I'm at the place where a lot of people reach out to me and I'm totally grateful to God for that. But one thing that I have always done is when I used to reach out to people, I made sure that I let them know how much I value them. Because at the end of the day, I can't have an interview-based show without someone to interview. And I need conversation. I need your expertise to come on the show. So I want them to understand that I need them just as much as they think they need me. And we have to do this together at the end of the day. And so, and then also it helps, like you said, to throw some little things out, like you read their book, or maybe you saw them on another show, and this is the reason why you reached out. Because at the end of the day, you're trying to build authentic relationships. Okay. I tell people every day, you should not just be reaching out to people just because they are this person or that person. You should be reaching out to them because you want to really build a relationship. Relationships are more powerful than any one-time sale. And I keep telling people that. I'm like, listen, building relationships is better than one-time sponsorship, one-time whatever, because relationships will get you indoors that a one-time sale can't. Okay. And relationships has proved to be very valuable to me. And I'm just so grateful for all those relationships that I've been able to forge over the years. So with that being said, Alex, thank you so much for everything that you did in regards to answering our questions, getting us over the fear, the nervousness, and also telling us about your transformational platform, which is PodMatch. So is there anything else or any last words you would like to share with our viewing and listening audience?
Yeah, CCR Nation, what I want to share is just kind of along the lines, just to piggyback with what you just said, Dr. Tina.
Mm-hmm.
It's this idea that you just said, I think you said it beautifully, but relationship is more valuable than any one-time sale. And I think that having that mindset in podcasting as a guest or a host is huge. You might be hearing this and maybe you have a podcast and like, yeah, well, they don't understand my listenership's really small. Or you might be a guest and saying, yeah, well, I don't even have like a book and I haven't done a whole lot. I just have this little message. Don't sell yourself short. Relationship is why most of us that are good at this do it. And some of the people that gave me a shot when I first started my podcast, I had nobody listening yet. And people said, absolutely, Alex, I want a relationship with you. Let's do this. There are people that are still in my life 10 years later, still part of my life, still in my circle. And guess what? I've been able to help them now too. And that's not even what it's about. It's about the fact that we want to grow and learn together. Don't let low download numbers scare you from saying something. Don't have any imposter syndrome with that. Don't let your lack of experience in life make you feel that you're not worthy. You are worthy. And people that really know what they're doing in this space, they're looking for the relationship with you. They're going to love and care for you because they feel that they can align with you and together you can grow. There's that old Helen Keller quote that says, alone we can do so little, but together we can do so much. I find the best hosts and the best guests, they have that in their mind. So no matter where you are in your journey on either side of the microphone, or maybe even haven't done it yet, get out there. Start putting yourself out there. This is a great way to build relationships that I think can last a lifetime and really leave an incredible legacy for others to follow and be inspired by.
Wow. Listen, thank you so much for giving me some of your time because I know that you are a busy man. I see you in these social media streets, real active and stuff. So I appreciate you in the midst of everything that you're doing. Matter of fact, tell your beautiful wife I say hello.
I will. I definitely will. Thank you for that.
And everything like that, because I had the privilege of being able to have a couple conversations with her. Cool. And she just is amazing as you are and helping me in my transition over to y'all amazing platform. I was like, Lord, I don't know. It's just like I'm having some time. And she just helped me through every single thing so graciously, and all of our members that came over. So I thoroughly appreciate your customer-centric approach to your entrepreneurship and allowing us to be on a platform that is really centered around us. It's very few media-driven platforms that are based upon the people. It's mostly based upon the numbers only, if you know what I mean. And so it's a breath of fresh air. So Alex, keep doing what you're doing. You'll see me all around in your podcast community. You'll see me. But at any rate, I appreciate you and thank you for sharing so many amazing tips and strategies to help podcasters, content creators, entrepreneurs be able to truly level up and understand what really matters and how they can have that longevity. So you guys, listen. I know you're like, wait a minute, y'all been saying pod match. So listen, whether you are a podcast guest or a host or aspiring guest or a host, podmatch.com/free has some goodies for you. Did you hear free 99? Yes, I said free. So the only thing you have to do is go to podmatch.com/free, and they will give you some quick ideas to help you grow and improve in your podcasting efforts. This episode, I forgot to say this. Yes. Scan the QR code. You won't hurt me. Touch the screen. Scan me now. Scan it. So you can go over there and visit Alice on the website. I absolutely love it. We really appreciate everything that Alice has shared with us today, where he talked about how we can simplify, streamline our guesting and also our hosting experience with success, and how he gave podcasting strategies to us on the day. So make sure to check him out. And if you want to book CTR Media Network, then guess what we just did? If you're not over on Podmatch, then guess what? You're not getting on the show, because we got to do extra work that we don't want to do. And we're not doing it. So if you want to get on the show, you have to be a member of that particular place, which is podmatch.com. You can scan the QR code right here. I'm going to give it to you again. Go ahead and scan it. And then you can go ahead and get on our show with our next availability. For those of you who are going to be in Columbia, South Carolina, October the 11th from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m., I want you to come to the Media and Wealth Summit. Yes, I'm going to be there along with the amazing Michelle Green, some more of our speakers, and we have some surprise panelists that's going to be there, but you're only going to know who they are once you get into the building. This is an event that's going to help entrepreneurs, podcasters, content creators start and grow your business, boost your visibility, and scale through media. I want you to join these expert sessions, this networking and strategies that you can apply right then from the event. And we'll be looking, right now, we're looking for sponsors and vendors who want to showcase your brand. We only have 10 more spots for the vendors right now. So go ahead and get your tickets by going to www.ctrmedianetwork.com, and we will see you there. Download our app by scanning this QR code so you can see Alice interview and so many more, along with our other amazing podcasters that's on the platform. Like I said before, and I say every single week, come back, same time, same place. Thank you for being our CTR Nation. We value you and we appreciate you. Thank you for being with us today, and have a great, amazing rest of your day. Talk to you later. Have you heard about Book Authority's best new podcasting book winner, which is Dr. Tina J. Ramsey, for her book, The Power of Podcasting, Unlocking Tips and Strategies for Podcasting Success. This book is your podcasting coach in a book. She is sharing so many strategies. This book reached #1 twice on Amazon for new release and best-selling book. So go ahead to ctrmedianetwork.com to purchase your copy today, or simply place your order on amazon.com today and unleash the power of podcasting. CTR Media Network is now accepting new podcasters to join our growing network that's reaching 350 million global listeners. Have you heard? CTR Media Network offers podcast production, podcast training, distribution, and product placement. Book us for your next event or schedule an interview with CTR Media Network podcasters today. To learn more, go to ctrmedianetwork.com.